there was actionable intelligence. There was information provided by Abu Zubaydah, which led us eventually to Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the mastermind of the 9/11 attack on the United States. So to say there was no actionable intelligence is incorrect.
It is rare indeed when we have Republicans seeking to commend Secretary of State John Kerry for getting it right. Then again, what blew up in Washington Tuesday was a rare enough event for even pigs to sometimes fly. She is the veteran columnist for places like Politico, the New York Post, the National Review, currently author of the Right Side blog and the Washington Post. Pleasure to welcome Jennifer Rubin back to MidPoint. Jennifer, always a pleasure.
Right Turn. Don't forget the name.
Oh, Right Turn. I'm sorry. There you go. Thank you very much.
We are on the right side, but it's Right Turn official.
Okay. Thank you very much. Make sure. There you go. Let's then make a right turn here to what happened with the whole John Kerry thing, because as I noted, it's very rare that we give John Kerry chops. But even you said, I mean, he actually got a couple of things right when it came to the CIA torture report. He's a guy who actually gets it. Not enough of those on Capitol Hill right now, are there?
Yeah, he probably comes out on a different side of this than some of us on the use of those techniques, but he did try his best to dissuade the Senate Democrats from releasing this report. He was quite clear, in fact, called Senator Feinstein from overseas to tell her this would endanger American lives. He essentially was pleading with her not to do this. She did it anyway, but he did make the effort. Later in the day, he testified before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and there are a couple proposals circulating around there, some from Democrats, one from Senator Paul, that ostensibly would authorize use of force against the Islamic State, but would really hamstring the chief executive. They're really an authorization to not use force in many instances. They have time constraints, geographic constraints. They specify no ground troops. And Kerry made a very impassioned plea that you can't do this to the chief executive. There's no way we're going to figure out all of the possible permutations, all the hypotheticals. And when you authorize the chief executive, you authorize the chief executive, and he's going to have to use his judgment. Now, if you don't trust the chief executive, well, I guess we've made a bad choice at the polls. And in my view, we certainly have. But once he's there, he is not a vassal of Congress. He is the commander-in-chief, and Congress either does the authorization or it doesn't. Contrary to Senator Paul, who must have a different version of the Constitution than the rest of us, Article 2 of the Constitution does give the president the right to act as commander-in-chief without a formal declaration of war. And we've done that for about 200 years now. So the notion that we need a declaration of war is false. And the notion that we should, if we give it to him or give an authorization for use of force, then tie his hands behind his back is really dangerous and not at all responsible in the circumstances.
Jennifer, how are the American people supposed to make a decision here? Because let's be honest, and brutally honest if we can, somebody's lying. Somebody's got to be lying here. Somebody on the Senate Intelligence Committee, or else all of the CIA people who were involved before are all just covering their backsides, and they're just all telling brutally fraudulent lies. How are we supposed to tell the difference?
Well, I think there's two ways to do this. One is to look at what reports have preceded this. There was an Inspector General's report that found that the techniques were in fact effective. They were part of the information stream that led to a courier, that led to the finding and then the assassination of Osama bin Laden. He did not find that the Senate lied. And the other way of looking about this is look at the people who aren't conservatives, who don't have an axe to grind against the administration. You have, for example, Nancy Pelosi back a couple years ago. When she was told that she, in fact, had been briefed, she insisted she had not. No, who us? Been told about this program? No. So how did we go from them not being told about it to being lied to about it?
Well, we know that's false, don't we? I mean, we know that's false. We know that they were told. We know that they actually had members of the House and Senate who were briefed on this. So can't we just come right out and say, please, Madam Pelosi, Mrs. Whatever, can we just not say, stop lying to us?
Yeah, it is very frustrating, and I feel your pain because it is really shameful is the only way I can come up with, that they made this into this partisan attack. They never even interviewed a single CIA director, all of whom disagree with the report. They didn't interview anyone. They went through documents, making their own conclusions. Or rather, as someone correctly pointed out, they made their conclusion first, then went rifling through the documents looking for shreds of information that they might use to support it. But it really doesn't hang together. Even the President of the United States would not agree flat out with the Senate Democrats that it did not have useful intelligence. And in fact, his spokesman went around in circles avoiding answering that question. I think if he felt strongly and he knew it did not contribute to intelligence, he sure would have come out and said so. His silence in this case speaks volumes.
Then, Jennifer, what is this? Is this retaliation by the Democrats for losing the midterms? Or is this just some massive kumbaya guilt assuagement, if you will, here that comes from the left that says we have to be completely transparent, even though it may put everybody at risk? What is this?
Well, my own view is that it's twofold. One, the chairman of this illustrious group, Senator Dianne Feinstein, has an ongoing feud with CIA Director Brennan. She believes that he spied on the senators. They have not gotten along. So maybe this is a parting shot at him. But what I really think this is about another chunk of red meat thrown to their base. Their base is very upset. They lost a lot of seats, and they see that they have nothing to show for it. So they threw this out, a sacrificial lamb in the form of the CIA, to satisfy those people who wanted one more shot, one more piece of evidence that they really have gotten those mean Republicans. The problem is that the CIA works for all of us, and the CIA has to defend all of us. And whether this helps our national security or it really damages it by making us appear untrustworthy to allies, by making CIA agents timid or not even wanting to join the CIA, I think we're going to see in the years to follow. I think it's a huge mistake.
I was going to say, about 30 seconds I have left, should we all feel a lot less safer here today? Because there's CIA people that I'm talking to that are saying, why should we bother? Why should we work when we know we're going to be maybe brought up on charges somewhere down the road and have our lives ruined?
Yeah, that's the most really pathetic part of this. The CIA was tasked with this. They were told to go find the information. They were authorized by the executive branch. They briefed Congress, and now, once again, the rug is pulled out from under them. So I think it does make us less safe, and I think we're going to have to decide whether we want lawmakers and a president who is going to support the intelligence community or one who's going to seek to undermine them for political gain, essentially.
Reminder once again, the blog is The Right Turn on the Washington Post website. Make sure you check it out. And Jennifer Rubin, it is always a pleasure to have you on the show. Thanks so much for being here.
Nice being here.
All right, Bill Nye the Science Guy dropped some interesting and even volatile comments here on MidPoint recently about creationism versus evolution. Now we're going to hear from the other side of this often contentious issue. It's coming up right here on MidPoint.